So I was talking to Laura about a client's story, and she really felt like I should share this with you. So I'm going to share a client story with you. My name is Tara Crawford. I am a volunteer search angel at DNAngels. Our client that came to us, her name was Sheena. She was adopted. She did not know who her birth mother or father was. She did have a non-ID piece of paper. It had some small hints on who her parents could be, just listed age. It said the mother had 2 children and the father worked in the grocery industry. That's all we got out of that paper, not enough to figure out who they were. So when I got in to look at her DNA matches, she had some great matches. She had lots of second and third cousins, possible first cousins, and a top match that shared 1,800 centimorgans with her. The only problem is his name was Jim Jones. So to find a Jim Jones was gonna be tough. So I sent him a message on Ancestry, hoping that eventually he would read it and respond and we could get in contact with him. He had no tree. So Jim Jones, top match, no tree. So because she had such great matches, identifying the 2 sets of grandparents came pretty quickly. The only thing is I don't know which grandparent is maternal. I don't know which is paternal. They both have multiple children, female and males. All of them fall within the right ages to possibly be a parent. So the first set of grandparents, their name is Jesse and Lois Fisher. They had 3 children. They had 2 males, they had 1 female. One of the males, his name is John. He had taken an Ancestry DNA test. He did share 1,200 centimorgans with her. His daughter had tested and she shared 700 centimorgans with her. Technically, he's supposed to be an uncle, but I wasn't quite sure because of the shared DNA was on the lower side. He could fall into what we call outliers. Sometimes the DNA doesn't fit what's on the chart. And I figured that that was probably the situation here because of the shared DNA with his daughter. Sheena shared DNA with both sides of his parents. So guessing he was an outlier, and we just left it at that. Now, John had a brother, George. George was deceased, and he had a sister named Carol. Either one of them could have been a father or a mother. I was not sure at this time. So now I'm going to take us over to the second set of grandparents. We have Bessie and William Warren. Again, they have 3 children. 2 boys. We have James, we have David, and we have a daughter named Sandra. Neither one of these people had taken a test. They were not on Ancestry, at least, and neither of their children were showing up on Ancestry. So during this process, we just began reaching out to these people, the children of Bessie and William, and since she had a DNA test to Jesse and Lois's granddaughter, she was the best and easiest one to get in contact with, just to see what information. Nobody knew of anybody that had been given up for adoption. So what Sheena did is anybody who was a possible relative, she just began adding them as friends on Facebook, reaching out, making contacts. So the first person she called was a daughter of Bessie and William, and her name was Sandra. Sheena called Sandra and explained her situation. I believe that you or one of your siblings could be my birth parent. I took a DNA test and I'm hoping you can help me. Sandra said, I'm sorry, I don't have any information, but why don't I give you my brother's phone number? His name's James. Feel free to call James. Maybe he can help you. So that's what Sheena did. She called James and he opened up his arms and was willing to take an Ancestry DNA test. He said, hey, if you're related to me, if I'm your dad or if I'm your uncle, I want a relationship. So she got very lucky with that. And he did take an Ancestry DNA test, right? And we were waiting. We waited 6 weeks. During this time, she's also uploaded to MyHeritage. So we're waiting for some stuff to process through there. But James came back as an uncle. So he wasn't her father, he was her uncle, a full uncle. And that meant that one of his siblings, either Sandra or David, was her mother or father. So while we're working through this, Jim Jones responds. He responds to the Ancestry message. He says, hey, I was adopted. I do know who my mother is. I was adopted within my family. I do not know who my father is. So that gave us a big clue. That meant if he really is a half brother, which it looks like he is, he shares matches with both of the grandparents, Jesse and Lois's family, both sides. Same matching situation. So I'm thinking this is a half brother. That means that one of Jesse and Lois's sons, there's only one son left. He must be their father. His name's George. There's no one else. It's got to be George. George is the father. So we're set. George is the father. What we do is George has one living son. And since Sheena had done a great job at making contact and talking to everybody and getting the word out, doing Facebook posts, we were able to get to George's son. She went to his house, had dinner, called me that night and said, I really feel that George's son, Brian, is my brother. We've connected. He's my brother. He has to be. And he's willing to take a DNA test. So we get Brian a DNA test. We're waiting. Brian comes back as a first cousin. We're shocked. There's nobody else left to test. He's a first cousin. There's no more males. He's it. That's it. Done. Where are we going to go from here? There's nobody else to test. I don't know of anyone else. So Brian then shares a story. He said, hey, there's a rumor that our grandmother, Lois, was first in a relationship with our grandpa's brother, and she became pregnant. Once she got into a relationship with grandpa, he said, I'm not raising my brother's child. You can't have that child if you want to be with me. So Lois took that child, rumor is it was a boy, gave him up for adoption. So if this is true, then this baby floating out there somewhere is their father. He's been put up for adoption. We might never find him. So while we're waiting through this journey, MyHeritage is ready. We get onto MyHeritage and Sheena has another top match, 1,600 centimorgans. It's a male. There's no identifying information. The name is more of a nickname, so we can't really figure out who this person is, but this match shares DNA with both sides of this family. This person matches the Warrens and matches the Fishers. So this has to be a full nephew, right? There's no other options. We get Jim Jones to upload. This person matches Jim Jones as a half nephew. So we're looking for somebody that's very closely related. Sheena takes a screenshot of this DNA match, posts it on her Facebook, and says, who is this person? I'm closely related to them. Who are they? Well, Sandra's daughter, who is on her Facebook, says, hey, that's my child. Please take that down. They are no longer that person. Take it down. Guess what? That DNA match, who was a he, is now identifying as a she. They've completely changed their identity, their legal name. The person they were before no longer exists. This is why we can't find them. They're now identifying as a woman. Changed their name and everything. But guess what? We know this is a full niece match now. And Sandra's daughter, Mary, might have just gave up her mother. So I tell Sheena, you've got to get on 23andMe. Mary had made some conversations that they had taken a DNA test, but it was more for ethnicity, not for any DNA matches. So I said, do not tell anybody that you're testing on 23andMe. Just take the test and be quiet about it. Takes the test, 6 weeks go on. This was a long solve to get this figured out. 6 weeks go on, and boom, Mary is on 23andMe. Mary is matching Sheena as a full sibling. Guess who else is on 23andMe? Mary's mother, Sandra. Sandra matches Sheena as a mother, a full mother. We've got it. now have your mother, but father's floating out there. He's been adopted. I don't know that we'll find him. But now that we have the mother, Sheena is very nervous. She asks me, can you please call her? I called her once. I'm nervous to call her back. Normally, I wouldn't want to make the call to the birth mother, but I did. I called Sandra and I said, hey, I know you'd spoken to Sheena. She explained her situation, but we just found you on 23andMe and it says you are her mother. And your daughter is her sister. And she said, no, I know who she is. I know what she's looking for. I've never given anybody up for adoption. I don't know how that happened. And I said, but you're on 23andMe. Well, yeah, I took that test just for ethnicity. I don't know anything about this and I don't want to be involved. Please don't call her ever again. I'm not her mother. We hung up. So unfortunately, I had to give that news to Sheena that her mom was not accepting this outcome and wasn't open to talking. Now, one thing that was a positive is the siblings. The DNA doesn't lie. The siblings understood what was going on here. They are a full sister. That relationship did blossom, but there's one more kicker to this story. Mary's father, who was married to Sandra, she was married to Sandra. They had 2 daughters together. They divorced. During the time of their divorce, this is the same time period that Sheena was born and given up for adoption. So this is very possible that Sandra's husband and the father to Mary and her sister, his name's Russell, he might have had no idea about Sheena. He passed away a long time ago, so he wasn't around to share the story with them. 5 years after this divorce, Sandra and Russell remarry. And they have 2 more boys, 2 sons. The thing about Russell is Russell was adopted. Russell never knew who his birth parents were. So Russell ties in. Russell is the missing key. He is the link. He is the father to Jim Jones. He is also the adopted out son of Lois and Jesse's brother. The story's true. Grandma had a love child with her husband's brother and was given up for adoption. So that wrapped that part up together. Sheena did go on and had a healthy relationship with the siblings, but the mother, Sandra, was very adamant. She had 2 more sons with Russell that were much younger. She did not want them to know about this situation. She let her daughters know, I don't want the boys finding out about this. 6 months later, after all of this is said and done, Sheena gets a full brother match on Ancestry, and he sends her a message. Hello, can you please call me? Gave the phone number. So Sandra's secret was completely out of the bag. She never probably thought that this would come up. She blocked it out completely, but the DNA brought out the truth 50 something years later. She couldn't hide from it. Sheena now has 2 full sisters, 2 full brothers, and 1 half brother. That's going to conclude my client story. If you find yourself in a DNA surprise, or maybe you don't know who your biological parents are, reach out to us. DNAngels.org is the website. We would be happy to help solve your DNA mystery.